So after my first trip to Kenya in March of 2015, and after starting the organization in July, I thought, I really need to go back and do a scouting trip and actually see what is possible, right? That's one of the questions I ask myself a lot is I say, what else is possible here? And so I came back, and I kind of came back by myself, but a woman was moving to Kenya, and so I tag teamed with her on coming. And the very first thing, it was, of course, there's always challenges. There's opposition and everything. And the very first thing that happened was that my flight was delayed. I ended up being rerouted. And then I ended up in Amsterdam in an 8-hour layover. And so I was like, this is starting off well. I had planned 2 weeks, and the team that I met with on my first expedition decided that they would join in with me. So Moses and David, who are Maasai warriors, and they're also, now they're elders because they're old. They were safari guides, they're elders, they're leaders in the community. And they said, yes, we'll drive you and we'll show you around and help you to decide on the types of projects that you would do. So I finally made it to Kenya and got in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And we rushed straight to the Maasai Mara, which is about 4.5 hours from Nairobi. And the woman who is my next door neighbor now at this cultural center was having a housewarming party. Here I am. It's my second trip to Kenya. I get off the plane. I come. It's a completely different experience than my first one, and go straight into a housewarming party with a couple hundred Maasai. And I knew a few of them from my first trip, so I was really excited to see them, taking pictures and all of that. As we left, I didn't even know where I was staying that night. I had a lot of trust in these guys to help me figure this out, right? So as we left, we were driving across the Mara, and back then there weren't fences everywhere. Now there are a lot of fences. Land is sectioned off, but at that time we could just drive straight through. And I remember Moses was driving, and he paused and he said, I want you to meet my dad. And it was about in this area that I met his dad. I remember we stopped, and I got out of the Jeep, and I went over and I shook his hand, and he was herding goats and sheep, and he wouldn't let go of my hand. It was pretty cool. And he was just looking at me in my eyes, and I just felt this connection to him. He passed away in 2017, but in the interim, every time I saw him, he didn't speak English. I didn't speak Maasai. Every time I saw him, he would just come and hold my hand. And that's a different story for a different day. That expedition, it was all about research. And we ate a lot of French fries. That's what I remember. That night, we stayed at a guest house near here, and I will not say the name, but it was horrible. It was so horrible. And there were so many bugs, and it was pouring rain. And I remember I was like batting at all of the bugs to try and kill them, jumped under the mosquito netting, and it was just awful. It was the worst place I've ever stayed in Kenya to this day. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? Why did I come back to this? Like, this is, that first time in Eshmuli when we didn't have power or electricity for 3 days, or power, that's the same thing. We didn't have power or water for 3 days. And I thought, oh, I've got to get out of this country. And then I just came right back in. That'll just tell you, here I was, and I was kind of this, first world problems type of thing. But throughout the week, the 2 weeks that I was there, I started actually paying attention to what was going on in the community. And I really did know nothing at that point, but I started observing. One of the things that we did was we went up in the Mau forest, and in the Mau, there is a lot of agriculture. So I saw that it was possible. But also the farms are owned more by commercial farmers and not the individual families. So there was a challenge with how they would grow their own food if they couldn't alter the land. And even if there was a big farm next to them growing corn or kales, tomatoes, whatever it was growing, they didn't have access to that food. So literally a family could be starving and live right next to food. And that was super frustrating for me. So again, I had taken a square foot gardening class. Now this was in 2015. This was in November 2015. So it was a good couple of years before we actually implemented anything with square foot gardening. But that planted the seed for the types of ideas and saying, okay, do we teach them how to grow their own food? What impact would that make? And, I thought square foot gardens are the easiest way to do that. And it's the only way that I know how to do it at this point. Again, this is a faith walk that I'm on where I'm trying to figure out step by step and see things differently step by step so that I can help in the best way possible. That was the trip that I decided that I was open to running expeditions and bringing people to Kenya. And even though it was my first expedition where I came on my own, I started planning. What would I do? Where would we go? What projects would we work on? Started having that conversation with Moses and David. And when I got home from that trip, I literally threw it out on Facebook and said, does anyone want to come to Kenya with me? Response was kind of overwhelming. So many people said, I want to come, I want to come, I want to come. I ended up having 26 people sign up. I remember reaching out to Moses and saying, hey, can we run an expedition with 26 people? And he said, no, that's way too many. He said, split the trips and let's run back-to-back expeditions. So here I had a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old at that time. And I thought, well, I need to bring my daughter with me. My son had no interest at that point in coming to Kenya, but I thought I need to bring my daughter with me. So I started planning the trip. We had the first group, all the projects planned. Second group, no idea what we were doing. And they were completely different demographics of teams. And I remember, and I'll share this story in future episodes, but I remember thinking, I'm not sure that I'm actually cut out for this. I'm not sure that I really am the type of person that would lead expedition teams to Kenya.